Hey friend, a quick update for you. My website is officially live. I'm so excited. You can check it out at reneemat.com. And my name is spelled a little bit different, so people get hung up on it sometimes, but it's Renae. And I'll make sure the link is in the show notes in case you need to just click that and get to the website. But this website is where you're going to find all the things that I talk about here on the podcast. Plus, I've officially opened the wait list for my upcoming course. So, if you've been wanting some extra support to finally get those 5 foundational routines working for real life, you'll definitely want to get on that list so that you are the first to know when doors open. The new website is going to be your go to spot to learn more about me, check out those resources I mentioned on the podcast, and get that support if you're ready to create routines and systems that actually work for real life. So when you're done listening, head to reneemat.com, take a look around, pop your name on that wait list. I cannot wait for you to see it. Do you ever find yourself building a nice routine, but then you never seem to find the motivation to actually complete it? When we build our routines, it is really important to keep them simple and concise so that they aren't overwhelming. But there is also one thing that you should be aware of: your trigger task. Using a trigger task is like hacking your mind to reduce procrastination and actually get things done. So, that is what we're talking about today. Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renee Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast. We're talking about trigger tasks because there is nothing worse than building a routine and taking the time to sit down and actually figure out what you want to benefit a certain area of your life and then never have the motivation to complete it. And it feels like wasted time. It feels like you might be failing in that area. And that is never fun. We want to build routines that support the way that we want to live and to reduce the decision fatigue because we already know what needs to be done and to minimize the time that it takes to complete certain things. So, routines are incredibly beneficial, but they're only beneficial if we're actually using them. So, what I have found to be incredibly helpful is something that I have kind of called a trigger task, because I think about a trigger task and I think of it being able to launch me into a routine. So I actually was thinking about like when you are setting up for a race, and I am not a runner, so just to make that clear, but when you are watching them set up for a race, everyone is getting all aligned at the starting line. They are getting their positions and they're setting their foot up on those blocks and they're just waiting for that gunshot. Because when that shot rings out, they push off from the block and take their first step. And then what happens next is they take the next step and it just pushes them forward and they have the momentum to keep going. And that is what we are looking at for our routines. We want to have a task that really is the starting point, that all we're doing is we're waiting for that trigger. We want to start with our first task because once we take that first step, it will help us to build the momentum to keep going until we have follow through. So, that is what I want to kind of explain today because showing up to your routine is the hardest part. It does not matter if you build the fanciest or simplest or best routine possible, it is going to do you absolutely no good if you're not actually doing it. So, we need to figure out a way to change our mindset so that we can actually show up to complete the routines that we have built. And showing up is the hardest part, but it gets way easier when you focus on the trigger task. So I want you to think about building a routine, whether it's a routine that you already have and you are, you have created something that you want to complete and you're just struggling to complete it, or you can build a brand new routine that is going to support the life that you want. But really, you are wanting to look at whatever routine you built or are going to build, and you want it to be simple and you want it to benefit a certain area. We don't want to just build routines just to build routines. We want them to be very beneficial and not be a hindrance to our life. We want them to benefit our life. So that is what I want you to do first. I want you to look at your routine and I want you to make sure it is simple and it actually benefits you. The next thing I want you to think about is to arrange your routine to be completed in the same order. The reason that I say to complete it in the same order is that once we have repeated it so many times, we no longer have to think about it so hard. It's like brushing your teeth. You just go in, you grab your toothpaste and your toothbrush, and you just complete it without giving it much thought. You just do it without thinking about it. And that is how we want to eventually get our habits with our routines. We want to be able to show up to our routine and do it without having to think about it so much so that we don't use so much brain power, because that is what is starting to overwhelm us and stress us out when we have to make so many decisions. And we're trying to simplify things so that we don't feel overwhelmed. We can just show up, we can get it done, and we can move on with our day. So, when you are looking at doing something in the same order, it becomes more of that repetitive habit that reduces that decision fatigue. So, before you solidify the order of your routine, I want you to think about testing it out. This is where you're going to test and tweak your routines. So, when you build a routine, it might not be perfect right away, and more than likely, it won't be. You're going to have to tweak some things. You're going to have to rearrange some things. Maybe the routine doesn't flow as smoothly as you'd like, and you want to kind of switch things up and complete something at the end of the routine a little bit earlier. So you're going to want to adjust things. Maybe something is like, I definitely don't need to include this in my routine. I'm just going to get rid of this. I'm going to add something else in. It's totally up to you, but you really want to test out your routine and find a way where flows smoothly. Once you find that it flows smoothly, keep it as is until you have like some sort of, a life season change and things need to be adjusted, then you can go back and adjust it, but make it intentional. You want to make sure that when you're building a routine, you're building it with the intention to keep it the same. That's the benefit of the routine, is repeating it in the same order over and over so you no longer have to think about it. So when you are looking at your routine and you finally finalize the order in which you're going to complete it, now you are going to look at what is the first thing that needs to be done for this routine. Because, like we said, if you're not showing up to complete the routine, it's not going to benefit you. So now we're looking at your routine and we're thinking, what is the very first thing that I need to do? And that is the only thing you are going to focus on when you show up to your routines. Because the first task is what becomes your trigger task for that particular routine. This is what is going to help you, because when it's time to complete the routine, you're not going to look at the whole routine. You're not going to feel overwhelmed because it's this 30-minute routine that needs to be completed and you're tired and you're exhausted and you are like mentally overstimulated and you just don't want to do it, and you've got to focus on other things. Instead, you focus on your trigger task. You just have to show up for your trigger task, because once the trigger task is completed, you are already in motion. And all of a sudden, it becomes easier to complete the next task in your routine, and then the next one. And eventually, you're going to be done with your routine. And this is going to get easier and easier and easier because all you have to do is focus on showing up for that first thing and then let the momentum carry you through your routine. So, when you are looking at doing this, it is eliminating any distractions. You're just focusing on one thing. So it allows you to really focus and not get distracted. It also boosts your motivation because over time, when you're making yourself show up just for that trigger task where it seems so easy, but then it carries you through and you actually begin completing your entire routine, you're going to feel really good because then all of a sudden, you're not going to feel so overwhelmed because you're actually getting your routines done. They're benefiting your life and you are feeling less stressed. You're feeling like you have more free time. You're feeling like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. And now you really enjoy these routines and it makes it easier to keep showing up for them because you start to see the differences it's making in your life. So, I really want to kind of give you some ideas of what a trigger task might be in your five foundational routines. So, your morning routine, your trigger task might be just to get out of bed as soon as the alarm goes off. Like when your alarm goes off, don't even think about it. Don't think about snoozing. Just get out of bed because that is the first thing you need to do. That's the hardest thing to achieve for your morning routine. So then, once you're out of bed, you can move forward. You can go and splash your face with water. You can brush your teeth. You can grab your journal. You can brew your cup of coffee. You can do some squats if you're waiting for your coffee to brew. You can sit down and actually have 10 minutes in the Bible and focus on that and then move forward to the next thing. It just carries you through, but you wouldn't be able to do it unless you started your trigger task properly. Because if that alarm goes off and you hit snooze when you intended to get up for a morning routine, what's going to happen? 5 minutes later, that alarm is going to go off again, and you're going to be even more tired and more groggy. And you're going to be like, just 5 more minutes. And then you hit it again and you sleep 5 more minutes. And then you wake up again in 5 minutes and you're even more tired and you're even more groggy. And you just keep that pattern going. And eventually you're going to get out of bed and you're going to peel yourself out of bed and you're going to feel exhausted. You're going to feel guilty that you didn't get up earlier because you didn't get your morning routine done when you had intended to. You're going to go into your day immediately into tasks and things that need to be done without having taken that time for yourself. And you're going to show up for the day feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and underappreciated because you didn't take the time for yourself first. And now you're going to show up and be around others feeling guilty and crabby, and you're not going to have the greatest day. Now, should you sleep in sometimes? Yes, absolutely. I think sleep is incredibly important. But if you're going to sleep in, make it intentional. If you wake up that morning and you are planning to complete the morning routine, then get up because otherwise you're going to regret it. If you go to bed at night and you're like, I am absolutely exhausted, today was a nightmare, and tomorrow I know that I'm not going to function well unless I get a really good night's sleep. I am intentionally going to sleep in and only have a cup of coffee in the morning or only sit down with my journal for 5 minutes. I'm going to shorten my morning routine and I'm going to take the time to sleep well. Then that is an intentional decision, and you're probably going to feel really good about that, and that's okay. But make sure that if you are planning to complete a routine, that you're showing up with that trigger task because otherwise you're going to regret it and it's going to throw off the rest of your day. So, some other examples is for your meal planning routine. Maybe your trigger task is just pulling out your meal planning calendar and crossing out the days that you don't need to make dinner that week. So if you're planning your week ahead and you see that you guys are out of town one night, then cross that out. You don't need to make dinner that night. You're probably going to stop at a restaurant or you are at dinner at a friend's house, whatever the case may be, but you are going to not need to make dinner. So cross those out. That is your trigger task. You just need to start there. Well, then what happens? You already have the calendar out. You're already writing in there. You know which days you don't need to make dinner. So then it's easier to say, okay, this day on Friday is really busy. We're going to need to make sure that we have some leftovers or a really easy meal already made that's in the freezer that we can just pop into the oven when we get home. And so then you plug that in on Friday. Well, now you're down to only 5 days for that week that you need to plan dinners for. So then it's like, okay, I've got my meal list here that I've already created for a master meal idea list. Let me just pick 5 things that go well together for this week that are going to be easy to plug in and just write those in. Now, all of a sudden, you have your entire week planned for your meal planning routine. And now you just have to pick a couple of breakfasts and lunches and some snacks. Then it launches you into building your grocery list. And so you see how it kind of snowballs? Like you just have to focus on first doing that one task, and it will carry you through with the momentum to complete the others. For your daily 7 home routine, maybe your first task is just make your bed. Then you can clean up the clothes around it. Then you can go and shake the rugs out in the bathroom. Then you can wipe everything down in the bathroom. Then you can carry the laundry to the laundry room. Then you can bring your vacuum cleaner up and vacuum all the floors in the house. Whatever your plan is, just do the one thing. My trigger task for my daily 7 home routine is making the bed, because that is what I need to do to get me into the mode to do my home routine. Do I want to do the whole home routine every time I show up to do it? Absolutely not. I would much rather be doing something else, but I know if I don't complete it, I'm going to feel like the house is gross, and I'm going to feel like I didn't get to it, and I'm going to feel bad about myself because I am not getting to the things that I want to do. So I don't think about the whole routine. I think about I need to go make the bed. And then making the bed pulls me into the rest of the routine. And 20 to 30 minutes later, I'm completely done with my home routine. Our house is reset, everything feels fresh, and I feel really good. And that is what I focus on, is the trigger task to get me moving. For your movement routine, maybe your trigger task is putting on your workout clothes and your shoes. And that's what you need to start with. Then you can go and you can pull out your mat or your weights. Then you can turn on the TV if you are, doing workouts on YouTube or whatever program you have. Or maybe it's like not even pulling mats out. Maybe it's going and getting in the car and going to the gym. So getting those workout clothes and shoes on first is going to be the first thing you need to do to show up for your workout. For your budget routine, maybe your first thing is just opening your banking app and opening whatever app or program or spreadsheet that you are using for your budget and just comparing transactions for the day and making sure everything is tracked. That's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about bills right away. You don't have to worry about anything else. You are just aligning the transactions. And that is all you need to do. And then it carries you through to what is next to make sure that you are set with your budget routine before you go into the next day. And that is what you focus on, is you just focus on that first thing you need to do, that trigger task to launch you into your routine. So, quick recap: you want to build a routine that is simple and benefits certain areas of your life. This helps you so that you don't have to make so many decisions, and that it gives you a plan to actually move through, and something that will support and benefit the life that you want to be living. Then, once you practice and you test and tweak, find the order that you want to complete that routine. And like I said, keep them short, keep them simple. You don't want this big, extravagant routine that's hard to keep track of. You want it simple. And then find the order that you like and repeat it. And then once you find that order, the very first task is your trigger task. Once you have recognized your trigger task, now it's time to just focus on the trigger task to get you moving when it's time to do your routine. You don't want to focus on the full routine. When it's time to do your routine, just focus on that first task. Like, that is what I need to show up for. And when you focus on doing that, it kind of hacks your mind so that you can keep using the momentum of showing up for the first task to then complete the next one, and then complete the next one. And eventually, you are going to complete your full routine by reducing the distractions and eliminating the overwhelm and reducing the decision fatigue. And all of a sudden, you find that you are completing your routines regularly and quickly, and they are benefiting your life so much, because showing up is the hardest part. So use your trigger task to launch you into your routine, even when motivation isn't there. Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.